who is the CEO of SimplyFI, and the Murthy Chitlur is a one of the executive leader in SimplyFI, and couple of their colleagues is also joining the call. So today they are presenting like how tokenization will be used in Agri carbon marketplace, and they are using hybrid blockchain kind of thing. So there is a public blockchain like Polygon, and also they are using Hyperledger Fabric. So yeah, so over to Vishwa and Murthy.
Thanks, Kamlesh. Just give us a minute.
Okay.
Hi everyone. Hope I'm audible.
Yeah, audible.
It's primarily consulting, right? So that's what we do.
So I'm Viswanadh. I'm the founder CEO for SimplyFI. So hopefully we could get started on the most interesting topic today, the Agri tokenization, as well as the carbon credits for that. So, we would actually run through two major things today. On introducing the platform on the engineering aspect of it. How are we actually looking at tokenizing the carbon sequestration, and especially in the real world example. So let's run through the deep details into some of those architectures and what is the roadmap that we are actually going with. Because when we started, I think so the start was majorly to look at how the carbon tokenization can happen for the agri assets, and how it can actually benefit farmers, not just to practice regenerative agriculture methods, but also gain or get incentivized for their regenerative mechanisms. So that's the thought process which we started this. Luckily, we are now with the company where it's called Climate Sense, where they're deploying this platform in multiple places. To start with, India is one of the region, and then there are also doing in the areas of South America and so on and so forth. So with that brief introduction, so let me take you through a brief presentation before we jump into the demo. The demo will be a little bit, going through how the entire life cycle is going to be. But the heart of the story today, I think so, is to really look at the way that we are actually leveraging blockchain and why blockchain is quite necessary and essential. So let me just bring up the screen, and then maybe once you are able to see the screen, just let me know. We could get started.
To really understand.
Sorry, I mean, Srinivas, I mean, let me just share the screen.
Strategically, and business performance wise, because I can't tell you how many small companies we've caught.
There is some background noise. I don't know if that's something that you're able to address or not, but
maybe the YouTube channel someone also opened, so maybe that echo is coming on that YouTube channel.
So hopefully, is it better now? I think so. The background is a little lesser. I could, it's clear for
Yeah,
me.
is
Okay.
better.
Perfect.
I don't know if it's just on my end or not, but I'm not hearing if the speaker's speaking, I'm not hearing anything. Maybe you're muted.
I think maybe Vishwa is sharing a screen, so it needs some time.
Sorry, I mean, is my voice not audible?
And now your voice is audible. Now we can hear you, and we can't see your screen. Viswa, are you facing any issue in sharing the screen or what?
I'm not able to share the screen. I'm sorry, just a moment, please. I don't know. I have it just asked me for an update on the Zoom, but then I have yeah, now it should be. So I've just given it an update. Hopefully you could see my screen.
Yeah, now we can see.
Perfect. So let's actually go deeper into now the the topic of what we are actually doing, especially from the sustainability perspective and the farm tokenization perspective. So just to give you a quick brief about SimplyFI. So we are majorly a player in building blockchains, and especially we have been working in financial instrumentation. So during the financial instrumentation application, we have worked with something called farm credit. And when we are actually doing the farm credit, one of the interesting insights that we actually got is the farm credits or the farmers can actually get incentivized when they actually practice the regenerative practices. And then that's where the genesis of this particular platform emerged. And the fundamental aspect of ESG is to ensure that the sustainability and the impact that it actually can do can translate when the farmlands are tokenized, and and if they are practicing or they are actually helping in carbon sequestration, this will overall give a great benefit for the farmers as well to get their farms incentivized. But on the other side, the enterprises which are having large blankets of, the contract farming can also look at this as a bigger opportunity to put the ESG into the radar, as well as the zero carbon emission or net zero emissions for the targets for multiple supply chains can also be achieved through this particular platform. So that's the brief, and having said that, the benefits of blockchain, of course, they're pretty charted everywhere, and we know it always brings in the transparency and traceability on whatever are the nodes that are participating. So when we are actually working towards just the supply chain aspect of it, from where the origin of an organic coffee is coming in, so that's the traceability and the transparency part of it. But more importantly, now the world is moving towards how the Agri tokenization can be actually done, and how this Agri carbon capture will happen, and basing on these metrics, how it actually translates into the verifiable carbon measurements. So maybe I could actually claim saying that I'm actually saving 10,000 tons of carbon through my irrigation practices. But what is the validation? Where is the regulatory that's coming in? Who's actually verifying this? Whether it's a carbon sink or whether it's a carbon source, and who is governing this particular data? Now, are we getting this particular data in streams from an IoT device, or is it manually being put into? So there are different aspects where the data coming in into a technology platform is from various data sources, as well as there is no reliability of the data. There is no one who's actually verifying. So when we actually look at building this platform, the first aspect is who is going to govern this particular data. So here it would be farmers who would actually tokenize their lands, and they follow the regenerative practices, which we call it as a regenerative hub in the climate sense world. And once we get that particular data into the picture, the most important aspect there would be how would we govern this particular data, and who is going to authorize this data? So there are some gold standards like Vera and Gold. Who are those agencies who will actually audit them? So when a project is actually put onto the platform, they become much more validated from them. So even the bigger players like them are actually adopting blockchain to give the audited report. But in some of those challenges that we actually say that, these audit reports once are given by the trusted sources like Vera and, gold standards. So that means, this is a data that we could actually take and, put it onto the carbon marketplace. And then, if it's and then this tokenization or these tokens can be traded on the carbon platform. But this entire data lineage, is one thing which we are tying up with the platform, and then we are capturing this particular data and tokenizing this particular, carbon credits with carbon sequestration data, and then putting this onto this particular platform for, for enabling this on a carbon marketplace for tradability. So this is the sequence of events, but as I told you, the challenges that we have are one of them, the regulatory and the questions around reliability of the data, and the questions about the data sources even. So that is where we actually thought that for these limitations like sustainability, whether the farmers also have a question on us saying that, okay, you're asking us to follow the carbon sequestration where we will be incentivized by following regenerative practices. I will actually go detail into how these regenerative practices comes into the picture when we actually go on to the demo. but most importantly, how can a saving of maybe about 10,000 tons of carbon over 100 acres of or 100 hectares of land can actually translate into monetary value or incentivization to the farmer, right? So that's the entire thought process, which is hard to actually explain to some of the marginalized farmers. So that was one of the aspect, whether we will get the same yield or not, and so on and so forth. So it's a process where we begin the farmer into this particular journey, give the value, understand that, hey, this is where it is much more sustainable, and then move into the next era of regenerative energy initiatives like the solar paneling, whether, because if they are using diesel generators, for example, in India there are quite a lot of paddy fields, and paddy is very intensive on the water. So, and there's also methane, which is greenhouse gases, which goes for the emission. So the calculation mechanism for carbon, especially in this specific scenario, is quite different. So we need to really look at what is the methane, emission within the water level, which is in the field above the water level. So, and the calculation is different for different products. So, or different, agri products. So, and most of these water is pumped through diesel generators or diesel motors. So that's also adding up to their carbon emission or the carbon footprint. So if they actually turn towards renewable energy initiatives for powering the motors or powering the entire farm operations, so that actually becomes one more aspect of it. But this is all the different compliance verifications that also has to be done on the ground when we claim that this farm is actually a suitable farm because it is following all the good practices, and it is not a carbon source, but it's a carbon sink, right? So, and one more thing, one of the crucial rules that everybody has to comply with is many companies, when they are now announcing the carbon zero goals and making the supply chains also socially responsible, the vendors, the entire from the farm to the packaging to the warehouse and to the end to the end, till the customer. I think so there's sustainable supply chains that are that have to be made carbon neutral in their approach as well. So this is a long chain of activities, but the journey always begins from the source where the agri product is actually coming into the picture. So these are the common challenges which we faced, or the limitations that we are actually having. So what we actually look at is now we also have a challenge, in terms of the interoperability. So the initial farm tokenization or the agri land tokenization, which we did, is on Polygon. And there are large contract farming agencies which have multiple hectares of land blanket across the globe, where they are actually going with the produce of fruits or maybe the agri products. So they wanted it to be much more permissioned for their entire supply chains, because the contracts have a validity in terms of the acreage, the tonnage, and the emission, and they are going with great practices or good practices for making their farms regenerative as well as compliant. So at that aspect of it, they would also require this data to be permissioned and cannot be onto the public blockchains. So interoperability will actually become, while we are tokenizing it, it is some data which has to be really onto the private chain, and some data when it is completely tokenized and put onto the carbon marketplaces, it has to also comply with the token standards, and or whether we are doing an NFT of the farms, these NFTs have to be traded onto the platform. So that's why maybe the interoperability will also become a future challenge for us. So One more bigger area in this particular space is the ESG focused loans. So where many of the banks or financial institutions are also giving incentivized or faster loan processing for enabling the farms into green. So these are some of the priority sectors where they can actually get better loans, if they convert the conventional farms into organic farms, or maybe following the practices which reduce the carbon footprint, or if they're turning from the carbon footprint to a carbon sequestration, or when they're following the carbon sequestration methods, they could also be the financial inclusion that could actually happen, or financial instrumentation can be done either in the form of ESG bonds or in the form of ESG loans. So that's where DeFi will also come into the pictures. And most importantly, the bigger dependence or reliance on supply chains across the globe have to be made into regenerative. So these advancements into regenerative supply chains will actually help the ESG goals for the larger firms to also embrace them and then be successful in their particular goals. So on the products part of it, we have multiple places where we are working towards a marketplace, carbon marketplace. Of course, one of those standards which we are following is the token standards, which can be traded, the carbon tokens which could be traded onto the marketplace. And these are the projects that are listed and certified by Vera. So post certification, we are placing them into this marketplace where they can actually go for the purchase of the agri credits. So this is one of the areas, but this is post certification from the standards at this moment, because we have to coexist, because we cannot go self certification. We need these bigger agencies to certify that this is the land where we are actually making them completely regenerative. And to substantiate that particular data, we are enabling the technology, and this technology is coming from two major components. One is on the IoT sensors, which are measuring the NPK values, as well as the greenhouse emission gases, if there are any. So we are also calculating some of the data which is coming from their meter readings, their the motors that they're actually using, their electricity consumption, if they are getting it from the grid, which is from solar, powered by solar, or from the turbines, and so on and so forth. And then we have something called a carbon verse. Carbon verse is nothing but this is an ecosystem for the enterprises who promise the net zero goals, and they wanted to go with sustainable future. So we actually bring the real-time analytics based on their particular data currently that is coming from their BMS, building management systems, and in terms of the water consumption, in terms of the electrical consumption, and so on and so forth. And then the other bigger this one is the regenerative supply chains. So on all these three areas, our focus has been to ensure and minimize and give an impactful carbon sequestration, and driving the organizations to have these ESG goals, drive these goals, and achieve the net zero from the time frame that they have dedicated with. So this is the entire product suite which we have, in which one of the standing products which we have, the tall product, is the Agri tokenization. And based on these Agri tokenization, how are we going to go ahead with minimizing or incentivizing the farmers for practicing the regenerative practices. So let's go into a quick demo flow. And once we go with the demo flow, I'm going to drive through the technology, because once we understand the use case, you would also have a clarity in terms of, okay, where do we stand in terms of the technology. So I would like to take the technical part of it once we complete the demo. But meanwhile, if you have any questions before the demo comes up, we could take it forward. We could actually answer some of those questions. Any questions?
No, I think no questions.
Perfect. So then, let's go into the demo, and then we will segue into the architectures. Yeah. Srinivas, can you bring up the...
Yes, sure. I'm just joining with my mobile phone so that I can.
Yeah, while Srinivas is bringing up the screens, let me just give a brief of how exactly the application works and what is a demo flow, what we are going to show. So we have different players here. One is the main player is being the farmer, and then we have the admin panel and the auditors. So as part of the farmers, the farmer is will be given the app who is owning the farms, maybe like few acres or few hectares. So the farmer will be onboarded, and he's been given several options, which I will explain along with the app. So Srinivas, are you able to share the screen?
Yes, just give me a second.
Sure, sure. So this particular platform is built with keeping the regenerative hub as one of the major options, along with the carbon tokenization aspect. So as the application goes, we do have options where the farmer will be able to give his practices and how exactly his farm is and what all his practices are in terms of which crop is going to grow and what is the duration of the crops and what is the fertilizers he's using, what is the quantity of fertilizers, based on which the readings would be taken from the sensors. And post with our AI engine, which is in the back end, will be going to provide the suggestions and recommendations to the farmer. And so the practices is captured, and as well as we are going to track how exactly the improvements have happened. And that particular carbon reduction is being rewarded to the farmer using our carbon tokenization platform. So that is basically an end-to-end flow. So think we do have some technical glitch. Just give us a minute, please.
No, I am ready. Murthy. I can share the screen.
Yeah, okay. So once the farmer is onboarded, irrespective of his region, we will be having this as a landing page, wherein based on the location of the farmer, we are able to get the data from the sensors with respect to the temperature, humidity, and other details. And we do have different options, like one is Map My Farm, Carbon Tokenization, Region Hub, and the graphs. Under Map My Farm, we will be able to see the data and statistics of the farmers, what is he growing, and how is the NPK values, and those details. Yeah, as part of the selecting the farm and the crop for the farmer, what we have provided is like 3 different options, wherein he will be able to map the farm by walking across the periphery. And other one is with respect to already giving the coordinates, and another one with the polygon mapping. You can choose any one of them, that's fine. Okay, so that is a section where we have the map my farm about onboarding of the farmer, about his farm details, and selecting which the farm periphery, those details. And once that is done, then comes the region hub activity. Can we move to the region hub? So under region hub, we do have multiple sections. For example, to see the weather forecast, the inputs for the farmers, and crop management, and about the sensors and what is water management. And just for the benefit of the time, we can go with one of the options where is a weather forecast and crop management aspect. So it's from the sensor where exactly we know the exact coordinates, and we are getting the data from the sensors and displaying the details and providing him the weather, how exact the farmer will be able to plan his day, or how exactly he wants to do the next activities. You can go to the crop management from there. So here is where the farmer is going to provide his parameters on like what is the growth period and what all his practices are, based on which the suggestions would be provided.
So just to also add to this, right? I mean, the farmer might not be trained to have so much of data input. So, that's where, the co-ops comes into the picture. So the co-op and the farm representative who's actually getting this, farm certified will also input this particular data. As well, this particular platform will also support, the vernacular. So that means in the local language. So this would be first initial onboards and so on and so forth. But later then it would be much more easier. So, but the farm coordinator who is going to get the farm certified as ESG compliant or regenerative compliant, so he would be the main person who would be also entering this particular data.
Yeah, Srinivas, we can go to the graphs part. So the reason we can see the multiple farms is that there is a multiple combinations over here. One farmer may have multiple farms, and one farm may have multiple crops. So we have took all those permutations and combinations into effect to select the details for the farmer. So as part of the graphs, we can see that the NPK values, basically, which is coming from the sensor for nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus values. And below given is what should be the exact standard values and what are the readings. When we hover around the graphs, it will show the values where we'll be able to see like what is the, at that particular time, what is the sensor data, what we have received. So NPK value, pH, temperature. Yeah, continue, please. So based on all these things, the values have been calculated, and how much is the carbon emission. Once that is being calculated, that data will be sent to the auditor. So I will be discussing about that in a while. So we'll be able to see that Carbon will be able to monitor his how much carbon tokens he might have got and where he can be using all those things. So can we go to the carbon tokenization screen? Yeah. So basically, this is the screen which shows like how much the carbon tokens the farmer is holding. And there will be an option provided as part of the region hub wherein he'll be able to use this token to procure anything related to the farming. It can be farm equipment, it may be fertilizers, it may be seeds, and so on and so forth with respect to what the business decides to go for. Am I able to share my screen here? Srinivas, do you want to please unshare? Okay. So as part of the admin panel is concerned, the admin is having the right to see the overall carbon credits and how many projects been audited and what is the total tokens generated. And obviously being a demo site, I'm not able to show you that there is no actual values over here. But the obviously you can see the what are the values admin is able to see and how much carbon it's been reduced and what is the market analysis, etc. So once the project is been complete, when we say the project, it is basically the farmers, one particular harvest will be one per project. And all the projects have been sent to the review to an auditor, and auditor will review all the details, and it will be created into batches and will be tokenized. That is where it get into the blockchain. So once that is done, then the tokens have been approved by the approved auditors. The token comes to that particular farmers, and that is what we saw in the farmers token section. So this is where we can see that we are like total farmers like 106, and the auditors, whoever will be certified auditors will be there, and we'll be able to get those details of that particular auditors and users whoever are there, and we'll be able to see their form details and all those things. So the project details for every project we'll be able to see like who is something went wrong over here. Yeah, for each of the project, we are able to see like who is the farmer and what is the value being created and how much carbon is being saved, those details. And this is what like an end to end, wherein the starting from the farmer to the auditor and the carbon tokens coming back to the farmer and utilized by the farmer. Yeah, Vishwa, you want to take over, please?
Perfect. So let me just now that you have understood the approach towards how are we doing it, or what is the workflow. So maybe right from the farmer onboarding to the area of how we are actually making this transactions done and how the data is getting rendered. So to start with, every farm is fixed with census. So the first layer is the infrastructure layer. So where the sensors are capturing quite a lot of data. What is the data that we are capturing in this with the IoT sensors? So these IoT sensors, we have partnered with a company Climate Sense has partnered with a company called NeoAura. So where they provide the sensors which collect NPK. And this NPK or values soil carbon measurement, and we also have methane. So methane, of course, the sensor is still under one of the development areas, but the NPK, the soil moisture, the temperature, the humidity. So there are quite a lot of parameters that the devices actually capture, the IoT sensors capture, and these are fixed in quite a different areas. I will actually come back to the costs and so on and so forth as well later. But most importantly, this works on the uh, a kind of network where there will be a master node and the rest of nodes will start communicating towards it. So this forms a mesh, and from this mesh network, it will be communicated over a GPS protocol back into with a GSM chip. It would actually communicate back to the cloud server. So that's where the data layer would actually come into the picture. So where we would capture how much is the carbon sequestration that's done, how much is the effect in terms of the carbon trading data, carbon data, and so on and so forth. So the data layer is majorly about the analytics, about the sensor data, about the carbon trading data, and the listing data. So this is quite important. So before even getting there, so in parallel, we will also store this particular data so that the auditor can access this particular ledger and certify that yes, these metrics are right, and the sensors are emitting the right values. So that's where we actually bring in the blockchain for the traceability of the data, that where it's like, which farm is it coming in, what is the farm, what is the farmer who's tagged to it, what is the data that's coming in, when is the harvest happening, what is the carbon emission that's being done, what is the metrics in terms of the electricity consumption, the water consumption, and so on and so forth. So, and then followed by an API layer, and which on top of it would be it's a gateway, an API gateway, which will translate into a carbon trading platform. There is a wallet for for the carbon tokens, how many are deposited and how many can be converted into tradable assets. And then once these are traded, what will be the benefit that could actually translate to the farmer at the end user level. So these are application layers and the client layers. There are, of course, the cross-functional layers, like the maintenance, the security, governance and audit, and supervision. So this is the overall layered architecture. Let's actually go deeper into the technical architecture perspective. So the Agri tokenization application would be given in two formats. For auditors, it's a web application, and for farmers, it's a mobile application. And all these are connected with the digital ID connection. So for each of these farmers who are actually onboarded, the digital ID would actually act as an authentication mechanism, and this we are calling as the farmer ID, which is again a kind of a unique ID, where this unique ID can be leveraged for two aspects. One is the KYC aspect of it, where they could actually be identified their farmland, with the produce that they actually do, with the amount of acreage that they have, and what type of in which season which crop is being grown, and all these particular assets are classified into this digital identity. And this digital identity can also be leveraged for when they are requesting for an ESG loan, or when they are actually looking at financial capital for their growing this particular produce over a month, over a period of 6 months, or over a period of 1 year, or over a period of 3 months. So based on the type of crop again. So this would be like, from the user management perspective. So, all this data, which is coming from the IoT sensor farm, and with the event hub, we would be ingesting this particular data back into the blockchain SDK. And this, in fact, the first version which we are having is with the Matic or the Polygon tokens. So we have tokenized this one. But as I told you, the use case that we are now progressing towards also adopting the permission for the large contract farming agencies, where the data has to be permissioned. And that's where we will be bringing in Hyperledger Besu as a framework. So this is the technical architecture which we are following on a high level overview. And some of the KYC data which is which is with a lot of PDFs, with identification and so on and so forth, data consents, farmer consent, as well as the data, weather data, and so on and so forth, also is stored on IPFS, not a stream data, but which is the records keeping data. We have actually put this on the IPFS as well. So this is a high level overview of the technical architecture. Maybe I will leave open to the questions, both from the functional perspective as also from the technology perspective. If you have any, please feel free to shoot.
There is one question from Jizo. How does farmer trade the tokens received? Viswa, can you see the chat? There's a question from Jizo. How does farmer trade the tokens received?
Yes. Yeah, it's a great question. But one thing which I'll actually tell, the farmer will not actually trade the tokens directly. So what happens is a farmer can hold 1 hectare or maybe 10 hectares or 20 hectares. But the carbon sequestration, to get substantial amounts of carbon capture within the soil, or carbon sequestration happens via a large blankets of the land. So there would be an agency, or there would be a cooperative society, which will form the basis for aggregating this land blankets into a tokenized larger carbon capture land. So these cooperatives will start tokenizing, or will gain these carbon tokens, and then they will actually put this on the marketplace which we have. So that's where the entire mechanism happens, and only the benefit is transferred to the farmer. So the farmer does not trade, but the cooperative agency and the farmer agency, whichever is aggregating this land, or the contract farming agency, would be the main liaise between the farmers and the carbon marketplace for trading the assets. Hope this is clear.
So do you have this marketplace up and running right now?
Yes. So in one part of it, we have there is one more area where we are actually still behind. One thing is, there are some grants as well. For example, Klima DAO has a few grants, so we will be tagging also with them and to publish onto their marketplace as well. So we wanted to run an independent marketplace, so which is much more ahead on the roadmap. So we are not yet live on our marketplace, but we tag along with Klima DAO and then get these particular grants for sustainable farming, and then plow back these benefits back to the customer or the farmer.
So what is the regulatory challenges in India market for this? I mean, is token considered as something tradable?
No, these are not tradable assets at this moment. So the regulatory has to still evolve. But what is happening is, we are able to say that this is the carbon tokenization, or this is the carbon footprint. This is the carbon sequestration. That is the saving of this particular carbon, and tokenize them over a chain, and then these tokens are on a global level rather than within India specific. So on the regulatory aspects of it, still the tokenization into crypto tokens is not allowed. What we are actually banking is, when the e-rupee comes, maybe we could translate these benefits into a digital rupee and then do it, maybe the CBDC aspect of it. So in India, the scenario is much more, on the regulatory side, has to still evolve. But when we are actually talking about South America, when we are talking about US farms, I think so there is quite a bit of tokenization that's a possibility.
Thank you.
So Viswa, I have one question. Like, because there are some standard defined by the Veyron Gold standard with different bodies. So are we following the same standard specification, or you have created your own standards and maybe we can say the measurement of the carbon footprint? How you follow?
So the carbon footprint calculation is based on thorough research, and these are all certified by the various. So, for example, India also has released a paper on the carbon standards and their measurements. So every country, for example, European standards are again a little bit different. So there is no gold standard around it. But what we can take away is Vera and gold standards always comply with, or they are meant the gold standards for the certification. So we are following a very similar approach or the formula for calculating and tokenizing this carbon.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I think there's some question. No, there's no question. Right.
Is there a subscription fee to join your platform by either farmers, or how does your platform make money?
So in the initial approach, because we are the tech enablers, or we are the platform there, and we are not charging anything on to the farmer. Okay, there's no subscription fee for it. But whatever is the tokenization that has been done, there is a platform fee, which will be the revenue for that. At this moment, it's a premium. So we are only looking at getting the data and standardizing as much as the data that we could garner, and how much ever the tokenization that we actually do. But in future, there would be more towards the platform fee, which we will be collecting after the amount of tokenization and the amount of the carbon saved, that will be translating into the revenue for us. Any other questions?
No, currently no question.
Anything on the technology? Any questions on the technology? So
No.
if there are no further questions, yeah.
Yeah, no question, then we can wrap up.
Perfect. Guys, once again, thank you for joining this particular call. Sorry for the small glitches that we have in the initial to share the screen. But then I think so. This information that we shared is useful. Hopefully you have the content, or maybe we have better utilized the time in enabling you. How are we doing? But this is one of the major platforms which we are trying to innovate on, and we are also having quite a lot of learnings in terms of different countries, different regulations. But the major crux of the story is the tokenization of the carbon, the distribution of the tokens, and enablement of the financial benefits back to the farmers. I think so. This is a great journey which we have embarked on. With the leadership on climate sense, they have been driving this particular use case quite well. So we wanted to credit their team to help us build this for them on the technological level, but the ideation and the drive which they are actually doing globally to revolutionize the way the regenerative farming practices are done, as well as enabling the farmer incentivization through carbon tokenization, carbon tokens, agri tokens, agri tokenization. I think so. This is phenomenal. So we are at the onset of a revolution, and this is going to make world definitely more greener as well as more healthier because of the regenerative practices as well. We will be setting up a great example on how blockchain can enable the world to be a better place. So with that, I would like to thank everyone for patiently listening to us, and we look forward for enablement on technology by using Hyperledger Besu in our future roadmap. So we will be coming up with more sections around how did we do that, so that we could also take your thoughts and your ideas back into the platform to make it much more better and bigger. Thank you once again, everyone.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Murthy and Vishwa and SimplyFI team.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye.